Hi, welcome to the DRH show where I have wide-ranging conversations with fascinating people. We talk about all things psychology, mental health, and wellness. Now, doing a PhD is a bit of an interesting lifestyle. You get to research something you're really passionate about. You write it as a thesis for about 3 to 4 years, and then later on you get awarded the most coveted title of doctor. But embarking on a PhD can be mentally and physically challenging, and recent reports have shown that many in academia are suffering from mental health issues, with one study that found that 49% of PhD students suffered from a mental health issue. So today I have two bright PhD students who will flesh out the challenges that come along with doing a PhD. I'm joined today by Xiaoyang Li and also by Joana Esteves. Yeah, thank you for joining me, Xiaoyang and Joana. It's great to have you here. Of course, we'll talk about your journey of doing a PhD and also your role as PGR reps. But I just have to make it clear that you're just two members of the gang. There are other PhD PGR reps, but unfortunately, for some reasons, they can't make it today. But hopefully, when they're watching this, they can join us in the future. So let's kick this off. I'll start with Xiaoyang. You are actually in School of Health and Social Science, but you have your own area of specialization. So Xiaoyang, if you could just share to us your background, a bit of snapshot about your research, and what's actually you're trying to do with your research project.
Mm-hmm. Hello, I'm Xiaoyang, and I'm from China. I'm a second year PhD student, and I'm about to the second year of my PhD journey. And I'm in the nursing studies. My research interest is about the caring for people with dementia. And my currently topic is about the experience of caregivers of people with dementia in the institutional care settings in China. And, maybe for I will have my interview with the caregivers in the institutional care setting and to learn their experience and understand their experience of, taking care of people with dementia, to know if they have any needs or any support they need. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Xiaoyang. Now, before I move on to Joana, just a quick question. I can't help but ask this question because sometimes I also find it a bit tricky. Which term do you prefer, PhD researcher or PhD student? I suppose it becomes even more trickier when you're doing a funded PhD because essentially you're employed, so you can't call yourself a student. But personally, from a personal standpoint, what would you prefer? Which job title of some sort do you prefer? A PhD student or a PhD researcher?
Sorry. Maybe PhD candidate or PhD student.
PhD student. Okay, now let's move on to Joana. So Joana, I'm interested to hear what you're working on. What's your trajectory? And if I understand it right, you're doing a PhD.
I'm doing a master's by research that is before the PhD. So I'm designing my PhD student research. So it's like a mini PhD sort of thing. And then you move on to the PhD because I'm changing areas. So I come from a background of architecture, and now I'm doing health and social science and working with mental health, eco-anxiety in young people and children's books. So it's a little bit different. So you are in between the PhD and the master's. It's definitely an interesting experience and a challenge, and sometimes feeling a little bit weird because you don't know exactly where you fall into. So there's a lot of things that you expect to do at PhD level, others not. For example, you don't have to do an annual review because it's a shorter program. But for everything else is pretty much the same, just a bit shorter.
Yeah, I have to commend you though, Joana, that you're pretty much set what you want to do. You're pretty much sort of like you made up your mind that you eventually want to do a PhD. Because way back when I was doing my master's degree, I was a bit ambivalent whether to do a PhD. It took me about 8 years to finally decide that, okay, I want to do a PhD. But we'll get that. We'll get to your journey more. We'll explore more of that later. But just the same question with Xiaoyang, which title do you prefer? Do you prefer to be called PhD student, researcher, or candidate?
So I like to be called researcher. Or I don't mind being called something else, but I call myself researcher because it's what I feel that my identity is what I feel that I do. You know, as the same thing as what is your job title? What do you do? And sometimes when you do lots of things, and I'm a writer, it's a bit weird. It's like, okay, so I'm a writer and a researcher, and that's why I say that I am, and that's what I prefer that people see me as, because I feel it's more truthful to what I do. But I don't get upset if someone calls me something else, as long as it's not a bad thing.
Okay. Now, just to add into that, I personally prefer the PhD student because I don't see myself as an expert. Because like when you call yourself a researcher, it like conveys some form of expertise that you know what you're doing. When in fact, I don't know. I'm just talking from experience. When you have when I have my PhD supervision, it kind of highlights my lapses as a researcher. So I don't think I'm not yet ready to be called a researcher. But just like Xiaoyang and Joanna, everyone has their own preferred sort of job title, if you can call it a job title. Now, I just want to go back to Xiaoyang because you told us that you researching on dementia care. I could sense that you're really passionate about, researching about dementia. But my question to you is, a lot of people who would be watching this, they're also toying on the idea, what kind of research I should be working on. So do you have any tips of what sort of topic, how do we choose a topic that will allow us to sustain our interest? Because doing a PhD runs for about 3 to 4 years. That's a long chunk of your life. So how do you choose a topic that you're really passionate about?
Yeah, it's a big problem for all the students. They are they intend to have their PhD, and for me, I'm reading the postgraduate in China, and we do research when we are doing the master. So when I was a master, my topic is also around the people with dementia. So you can keep going what interests you I'm sorry, I mean, you can keep going what interests you, and you can also find what are the most important thing is the topic is very you are very passionate about that topic, and that topic interests you. If you have no idea, there is a little tips you can to read the article from your supervisor, to learn her or his background, and to see what kinds of topic is interest you, and then you can search that topic at the data set and to see if there are anything interest you.
Absolutely. Now, Xiaoyang, I'd like to echo what you said there, that you could also use your master's degree as an opportunity for you to explore what research interests you may have, and you might also benefit from asking from your research supervisors. Now, I just want to jump into Joanna, because earlier on your background, you mentioned that you actually made a jump from one discipline to another. And it's a bit of a jump, really, from architecture to social science. So, but how did you pick that? How did you make that decision?
So I will try to shorten it, but try to elaborate on my previous academic experience. So I did a bachelor and a master's in architecture and practice. And I was thinking about doing a PhD back then, following my dissertation topic in architecture. There was the psychology of space. So I was looking into children's well-being and their psychological relation with space in schools, and doing some case studies between older schools and new schools in Portugal. I'm from Portugal, I forgot to say that. It was very interesting, but I just didn't find that. I thought there's so many people already doing this, so this is just not what I should be doing for a PhD. It would be really hard to find a gap here, and I was just feeling connected to that research, even though I enjoyed working with children and I enjoyed the cognitive development intersection with the cultural, artistic aspect of designing space. So that I knew that I enjoyed. So years later, while I was practicing as an architect, I experienced a climate disaster in Portugal, a wildfire, and I started writing about my experience. I wanted to write a story about what happened there as fiction for children, to also help myself cope with the trauma of what happened and my sudden awareness of the state of the world. So it was through this gap year that I did to start writing the book and understanding what I wanted to do next, that I thought that I wanted to do research on this topic and I wanted to do a PhD. I was advised at the time here at University of Edinburgh that I could do a master's by research before doing the PhD because it would be a better transition into a different area. So that's why I decided to do the master's by research first, and I'm self-funded now, and then pass on to the PhD with a more like clear idea of what I want to do with this project, that is exploring how eco-anxiety can be mitigated through reading fiction for young people, and also promoting disaster resilience in young people who have been victims of climate disasters and can find support in these stories. So my research is in health, humanities, and arts, and is an interdisciplinary research. So that was the reason. And it took me, so I finished my master's in 2014. So it took me almost 6 years to go back to academia. And it was a more like of a professional and personal journey into what I really wanted to contribute to this field.
Absolutely. And it's quite interesting to hear your story, because sometimes we have this stereotypical notion that when you do a PhD, you pretty much know what you're doing and your trajectory is quite linear. And as what you've shared, it could be a bit, it could take its own twists and turns. It could be a bit messy, but eventually you'll figure out what you want to do.
Yeah, Joanna's idea about she I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. I mean, Joanna talking about the gaps. You find the gap, and then you can get to do the research. And this reminds me of my experience. I mean, finding a topic is not easy, and for me, maybe for most PhD students, their first year is to find their topic, and my current topic is definitely different from my proposal when I apply for my PhD. And my proposal is about the Tai Chi exercise for people with dementia. And I have changed my topic for maybe 3 or 4 times. I keep contact and have meeting with my supervisor, and we talk about my idea and their idea, and within these precise, and finally I got my current topic. So I mean, find the gap, and then you can have more conversation with your supervisor, and you will be inspired from them, and then find your final topic. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for also for sharing your experience, Xiaoyang. It's not just really a matter of whether it's a linear trajectory from one discipline to another, but it's also something to do with your research stuff, because as what you've mentioned. But another thing that I want to hear from both of you is whether you've always been aware that you're going to do a PhD. Has this always been a plan since childhood? Xiaoyang.
No, when I was doing my master, I even thought I would never do my PhD. It's so hard to finish my master, and the study is so. I mean, from that time, I think I will never do the academic work in my format. And maybe at the last year of my master, I have. I mean, in China, there are 3 years of our master, and yeah, same as the PhD journey in the UK. The first year we have license about some research or your research skill or something like that, and the first year and the second year and the third year you will do the research and have your to write your dissertation and something like that. And even maybe it's from the last year. I think I need to do more and to have my. I mean, doing a PhD is a very pressure experience, and I want to try it and to experience it.
What about you, Joanna? Was it also a childhood ambition for you?
Well, in a certain way, I could say it was like I always wanted to keep studying. So I will always enjoy being at school, not everything, but I always enjoy the process of learning. So when I was a child, I didn't, of course, know what a PhD was. I didn't have anyone in academia at the time in my family. Now I do, because my brother also he's doing a PhD right now. My uncle is a teacher, and he did a PhD eventually. But when I was a child, I didn't have that sort of like academia around me. So I couldn't contemplate that as like a real option of knowing what it was. But as I grew up, and when I went to university, to architecture school the first time, so my first experience in academia and as a university student, then yes, I started almost automatically like feeling, yes, that at some point, even if it's when I'm 50 or something, I would like to do that. I need to find something I'm really passionate about, because I always knew it would be a big commitment. And it took me a while to understand why something that I care so much about, that I want to know everything about it. Almost, of course, you never know everything, but to dedicate your life almost into researching and thinking and learning about something.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I understand that you're both international students. Am I right?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the challenges of international student, and this topic is strongly something that I can strongly relate, because I first came to Britain in 2013 as an international student. Although right now I'm no longer classified as an international student because I'm already a British citizen, but I do remember, the struggles of being an international student. Was it the same case for you, Xiaoyang?
I start my study at 2020. Yeah, and so my challenge for being a PhD international student is not only from the formal thing, it also from the pandemic. Yeah, I start my study at home at China, because I even plan to travel to Edinburgh at the beginning of the first semester and also the second semester. But there are some there was outbreak of the pandemic during January and February of 2021. So my plan, my ticket of my plan were canceled for several times. So I was just have no idea and keep learning and working at home. I guess maybe the more general challenge for me is language. Yeah, I do not have the environment to talk with other students, so I'm worried about my language for a long time. And then is the challenge from the pandemic. Yeah, you need to work at home, and maybe we are at the beginning of our study. I feel a little isolated and comfortable, and I need to maybe after 2 months I am settled down and to my study.
Thank you for pointing that out, Xiaoyang. The struggles of feeling isolated with doing a PhD, and you're not just unique in that respect, because a lot of people doing PhD, they feel a sense of loneliness and they feel a sense of isolation. I was just wondering with Joanna, was it also the same with you? Although you're not doing a PhD, because I would imagine as someone who's doing a master's degree, you have more in-person lectures.
A master's by research is different from a taught master's. So it's literally really a mini PhD. You just have sessions with your supervisor and you can attend seminars, but you don't have classes. So everything, all of your grade is your dissertation. So it's the same thing, but you do either in 1 year or 2. I'm doing it in 2 because I also work, but it's everything about your dissertation. So it's very, very similar to the PhD in that sense. You don't have classes. My experience also like Xiaoming, coincides with the pandemic. So even though I've lived in the UK before and I was already living in I lived in England before, and then I moved to Scotland, and then I came to university. So even though I'm not a citizen, I lived in the UK and in Edinburgh before starting my studies, but it all coincided with the start of the pandemic. So it's definitely an isolating experience. I tried to do as much as I can, and like we're gonna get into it. But one of the reasons why I wanted to be a PGR rep and be involved with the community was also to try to tackle that loneliness for myself and for others. And it's a completely different experience, because when I studied before, when I did my architecture degrees, I was studying in my hometown. So I didn't have to leave at all. I already had friends. I already had my routines, the places I wanted to go. So it's the first time that I'm studying out of my home and abroad and in the middle of the pandemic. So definitely can be a bit of an isolating experience that is different from what you expected. Like you already expect a bit of an isolating experience as a research student, either master's by research or PhD, but it gets even more intense, I would say, with the pandemic. I hope it changes this year.
And thank you for highlighting to us the importance of being part of an academic community. And as what you've mentioned, actually, all three of us are PGR reps, and I strongly understand what you meant there, that you want to contribute to improving the academic community in one shape or another. Now, let's talk about our roles as PGR reps. Xiaoyang and Joana, could you give us, some ideas what kind of projects you're looking to, to contribute for the academic community of everyone doing PGR reps or mini PhD? Sorry, doing a PhD and doing a mini PhD.
Yeah, doing a PGR reps, actually, because like what I mentioned before, I'm worried about my language and have a little, social phobia. And, actually at the beginning, I'm afraid to be a PGR reps, and, Yajing applied it at first, and after she got her approval, and she just she encouraged me to do that. I think it's a very challenging. It's very challenging for me, but I'm not. It's challenging, but I think I can overcome it. And as for the how to help the community, when I start my study, I have the experience of we start our study online, and I attended all of the activity. What's the prayer, the reps they hold, and because I have the experience of attendance, then I can understand what they want. Just stand from their point of view and to think what kind of information they wanted to get, or what kind of atmosphere they want to feel, and then we hold our activity just from their stand of point of view, and then to let them feel free to attend our activity and feel the support. That's all. Thank you.
And what about you, Joanna? What prompted you to be part of the PGR reps?
So I really enjoyed the activities last year that the previous PGR reps organized, and well, like I said, I really wanted to be a part of the community and to make that contribution. So when I realized that I could do that in my second year, I didn't hesitate. I thought, well, I'm really busy, but this is definitely something that I want to do. Like I'm particularly interested in the mentorship support. That I really benefited from it in the first year with my mentor, Lucy. She's great, and we became like friends, and we still like hang out. So for me, it was definitely like a highlight of the year to be able to like communicate with another person and having like these regular meetings that were about, of course, the challenges of what we are doing and her PhD and my master's by research, but also like a human connection that was a bit hard to have, like in online seminars where you don't even see the people. And yeah, and also the clinical psychology seminars, it was also very helpful for me to see others presenting, to learn how to style my own presentation. Doing the conference was a breakthrough for me. Was the first time that I talked about what I was doing to someone that wasn't my supervisor or my partner or the people that I studied with, and it was just three of us in the program. So it was definitely very motivating for me to be able to do that. And I thought, well, I want to give back. So if I have that opportunity to continue those activities and make them even better, if possible, following what people want, I thought it would be a good use of my time at the university.
Absolutely, and talking about good use of time, I think what we're doing right now is also a good use of time, because essentially a lot of people are wondering whether is PhD for me, and what is it like to do a PhD, and it's good to hear some first-hand accounts, especially from those who who just started their journey and also not sure whether to do it to begin with. So again, I thank you for your time, for sharing to me your experiences of doing a PhD and what are your challenges are. Now, earlier you already talked about how did you cope during the COVID, especially that you were essentially started your PhD journey or your mini PhD in the midst of the pandemic. But has your attitude towards productivity changed because of the pandemic? I could speak for myself, I suppose, in relation to productivity in the pandemic, because before I was really trying to do everything I can within a day, but I think pandemic has sort of highlighted, without sounding cringy and cheesy, I think in a way pandemic has highlighted to me that there are far more things important in life other than just work. You also have to have connections with your family and friends, and the pandemic has really highlighted that, because all of my family, they're in the Philippines, and because of the pandemic I was not able to see them for 2 years, especially with my dad. I really feel bad about it because my dad is going blind, but because of the pandemic I was not able to see him. But before that I was just thinking, like work, productivity and all that. Is that something also that is sort of similar to your experience, Xiaoyang and Joanna, whoever wants to go first?
Well, so before doing this degree, I was already pretty much working on my own, because I spent like a sabbatical year planning what I wanted to do with my career and with my writing, and working on the books that I'm using as part of my research proposal, and that was for me, what the pandemic showed is like, sometimes you might be working so hard, and then something can completely, like, there's so many things that you don't control. And when you are working on your own, whether you are doing a PhD, writing a book, starting a business, like something that is very like in your head and with yourself, I was already pretty isolated because I wanted to do that. And suddenly the pandemic happens, and, part of me is like, there's so much that I don't control, and it's important to be doing what I'm doing, yes. But for some time there, especially at the start of the pandemic, I still didn't have an answer from the university. I didn't have a job. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen with this book. So I was very like, why I was working so hard for all of this year, especially this year, to do this, and now it might not happen at all. And I've not spent the time that I wanted to spend with my family and friends because I was so focused on doing this, and this might not go anywhere for reasons that escape my control. So it definitely made me rethink how I was using my time to spend with the people I love, with myself, and caring about myself and my own mental health, parallel to my academic and literary ambitions, of course, but definitely to find a balance and to feel we're not invincible. We cannot control everything that happens around us. As it's important to accept that things might not happen, not because of how much effort you put into it. So, and to value simpler things in life, and to coexist with your ambition and that simplicity in life that everybody should be able to enjoy.
Thank you for reminding us of those important values about self-control and about balance and simplicity. Now, Xiaoyang, what about you? How has the pandemic changed your notion of productivity?
Yeah, for me, actually, I have the half past year of my master degree during the pandemic, and from that time, from the restriction law from in our China, there were almost 2 months that people should stay at home, and yeah, you can't go out cause the pandemic, uh, and at that time I need to finish my dissertation, and I also to have my viva of my master degree online. And yeah, I said that I end my master degree at home, and then I start my PhD journey at home too. I think the pandemic, because maybe before we have the environment of working or study, you can go to the library, you can working with your roommate or student or classmate, but now you need to arrange all of your things even at home or at your room. Yeah, that's my bad. And sometimes when I feel tired, I can just go to my bed. And I mean, after the long period of time we working within the pandemic, we can control ourselves, the time management, something like that. And yeah.
I think it's really important that you mentioned that the importance of time management, especially when you're working from home, when you've got all the temptations. Like you're typing your thesis at one point, and then at one point you're just thinking that maybe I should watch something on YouTube, my favorite music, or my favorite, I don't know what, cats or dogs. It's really important that you have to strike the balance of productivity and time management. But mhm.
Yeah, live alone with yourself. You arrange
Yes.
all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Xiaoyang and Joanna, because you're both working within the field of social and healthcare, do you have any tips, or how do you look after your own mental health and well-being as PhD students? And of course, you've also got personal lives as well. How do you look after yourselves? What's your distressing outlet, Xiaoyang?
Yeah, because I mean, I have the hobby of working out. So when I feel nervous, I like to go to the gym and work out at there. And during the pandemic, I can't go to the gym. I will work out at home. And yeah, that's a kind of activity can help me to relax myself. And except for that, I have some friends, they will feel nervous or sad when they face some challenge on their work or study. And I also recommend them to just when you are feel sad or very nervous at that moment, and then you can let it go and put it on the other side and to do what you want to do, or maybe play some video game, to watch some TV show, and after you have your mood better, and then you can keep going.
And what about you, Joanna? I would suspect, and I do apologize if I get it wrong, because you have a background in architecture. Do you draw a lot? Is that one of your distressing outlets?
I do, but drawing is not necessarily distressing for me because I mean I'm focusing on like the technique of the drawing. So for me, distressing, I need to do things that are. I mean, I read definitely, of course. I read. I try to read books that are not like my research books or even the stories, the research books that are fiction books that I'm studying. So I read something that is completely out of the spectrum of what I'm doing. And I do yoga. I try to do something that doesn't feel like work because, well, when you are a writer, an artist, when you do research, mostly everything that you do feels a bit like work. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but like everything that I read, I start like my brain starts working. I start to make notes. So I try to do things that will really allow my brain to relax and focus just on what is happening in the moment, either a physical activity like yoga or reading a book or watching a film that I can really space out and not analyzing the story structure or the dialogue or anything is a bit hard, but I can still do it. But yeah, above all, making time for myself and get into my space head that I am relaxing, that time is for resting and I don't have to do anything else, and that resting is productive in the sense that it will restore your energy. So I think that we all on some level have this kind of guilt when we are resting because you feel, well, especially when you're doing research, like there's always stuff to do. It's not like a normal job that you leave and the job is there and you're going to pick it up the next day. When you're doing that, especially at home, like work is everywhere. There's always things to do. And that can become a bit overwhelming. So assuming that you're going to rest on that moment, regardless of where I am, if I'm home or if I can go outside. Even during lockdown, it was hard, like not being able to go outside and do my relaxing activities outside. But yeah, finding that space, either physically or mentally, to really be resting and convincing yourself this is to rest, that you can't do anything else right now. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I have to tell you both, Xiaoyang and Joanna, your distressing outlets, your leisure activities are far more sophisticated than mine. Because mine is just Netflix and pizza. That's it. I don't have any of that. Going to the gym or reading books. There are just sometimes that I had enough of these writing stuff. Let's just order some pizza and watch something on Netflix. Now, I want to hear from you, Xiaoyang and Joanna. What's your plan after PhD? What's the ultimate goal?
Actually,
Xiaoyang.
actually, I didn't plan it. I'm not the person that have like to plan in advance, and maybe do the postdoctor or to work to find a job. Yeah, maybe for that.
Well, I definitely want to write about it. So I'm writing fiction now. I would like to move into writing nonfiction about my topic of study. So that's definitely something that we'll try and do, and to do talks, to be a public speaker. So if I like, the ultimate goal and what I really would like to work out would be to be a writer and a public speaker, and continuing what I'm doing now at a higher level with more experience, and then see what comes next. But almost like more or less like more creating my own job in the field, because it's an emerging field. There's still not a lot that I think like, okay, that is exactly, I don't have a lot of like role models that I can see, oh, that is exactly the person that I want to be. I want to do what she's doing or what he's doing. I still didn't find that exact person, but I can pick up different pieces of different people that I admire and think I could do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I think that could work as a, not only as a career, but as a contribution to knowledge. So ultimately, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life, a contribution to knowledge.
Absolutely. And of course, doing a PhD is a good training ground for you to be a speaker and also for you to be a writer, because a lot of it really is all about writing. So I'm sure you're on the right path there, Joanna. And of course, Xiaoyang, because you're also planning to be a postdoctoral fellow. You'll have lots of opportunities to hone your writing skills and also your research skills. Now, Xiaoyang and Joanna, what do you think you would be doing if you didn't do your PhD? In another word, in another time, what Xiaoyang would be doing now if she's not doing a PhD?
Maybe I will work. I'm from nursing study, so I will be a nurse in a hospital to help to take care of people.
What about you, Joanna?
Well, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, I would be a reporter. That's like my side dream that probably will never happen, my side career, but that's definitely what I would be doing.
I really find you fascinating, Joanna. You've got like all sorts of different disciplines. Yeah, Xiaoyang, you want to say something?
I really admire Joanna. She has a very clear plan and about herself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really admire.
You guys too. Like, I really admire you. So see, you are the role models that I pick a little bit here and a little bit there.
Yeah, well, I think what we can learn from here is that that really different paths, that different trajectories when you're doing a PhD, and it can lead to all sorts of careers. And so, for anyone watching this, do you have any advice? Do you have any tips if they're not so sure whether the PhD is right for them? Let's hear it from Joanna. What's your tip for anyone listening to this?
Well, it will sound like a bit corny again, I don't know, but it's like find something that itches, like an itch that you can't stop scratching, like something that really like I can't stop scratching this, like I really want to know more, I really want to do something about this. And then, well, find how to make that possible and find like your gap and the possibilities for that, like choose a university, choose a supervisor. But I think it all starts with like an itch they can't stop scratching, in my opinion. That is something that bothers you. You wake up thinking, how am I going to do something about this?
Yeah, I love that metaphor. Scratch the itch. And if you want scratch, the itch will still be there. So if that itch is, should you do a PhD or should you not, just scratch it. What about you, Xiaoyang?
Yeah, for me, I have a different background of education. I mean, I'm very enjoying my current PhD journey in the University of Edinburgh, because it's very different from my formal experience of learning in China, and working and study with my supervisor and to enjoy the community and atmosphere there is I mean, I'm very like it, so that's a different experience of life.
We miss a bit of what you said, but I suppose what you're trying to say, that Xiaoyang, if I heard you correctly, is that just do it. If you think that it's the right path for you, eventually you'll find your way. But we're already nearing towards the end of this interview, and I'm really grateful that you spare some of your busy time for today. It's really a pleasure talking to you. But finally, can you, the floor is all yours. Can you tell us what else is in the pipeline? Do you have any upcoming conference presentation, and do you have any activities as PGR reps? And also, if people wanted to reach out to you, what platforms can they get in touch with you at? Let's start with Xiaoyang.
Yeah, I didn't have any plan of paper for now, because I just finished my first year annual review and to start my article. Maybe after I have my field work to get some data or from my participant, then I can arrange my future plan of the paper or presentation. As for the upcoming activity for my RIPES role, I mean, maybe there are some difference between the nursing coffee and the psychology seminar. We don't have the presenter, and we just hold that activity, and everyone can share their life share their experience of their study or talking about their difficult, and we can just work it together. And I mean that kind of atmosphere is really comfortable, and you can say whatever you want to say. And yeah, maybe I will keep that kind of format of our nursing coffee. And to present some topic is also a great idea. But we hold that activity every 2 weeks. So if you have every coffee meeting have one topic, and you need to contact someone to give the presentation. I mean, maybe it's a little pressure for me, for our reps, and also pressure for
Absolutely. And I suppose, Xiaoyang, if
just keep the coffee meeting free as before.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, I suppose that if people also wanted to reach out to you, they can just get in touch with you directly from your university page. So what I'll do is I'll pop in the link to your university page. So for anyone who wants to talk about your research in relation to dementia, in relation to care of older population, they can get in touch with you. What about you, Joanna? Any exciting developments when it comes to writing books, and also how can they get in touch with you?
So you can check my university page. I need to update it. I'm working on my website now that I'll hopefully launch in a couple of months, where I will have, lots about my creative work, my research. I'll have a blog. So there will definitely be the space, like my space, where people can get in touch with me and see more of what I'm doing. So I will be popping all that information in my university page once it's done. But so far, you can't contact me through my university page or on social media like Instagram or Facebook. I don't use, but Instagram I definitely use. So if you have any questions, for now, contact me by email or Instagram, and I will have my website up and running hopefully in a couple of months.
Definitely. Xiaoyang Li and Joana Esteves, it's a pleasure having you here in the DRH show, but unfortunately time is against us. Thank you for sharing with me your journey and the current work that you're doing. I look forward to hearing more about you, especially as PGR reps. Thank you.
Thank you.